Let's be honest, when we think of Alan Carr, we think of that infectious, slightly manic laugh. We think of the chatty man couch, the golden cup drinks, and the effortless way he gets Hollywood's biggest stars to spill their secrets. He's the nation's best friend, the life and soul of the party. So, when he signed up for the Celebrity Traders, most of us probably expected him to be the funny, lovable, and perhaps slightly bumbling faithful, tragically dispatched in the first few episodes. Oh, how wrong we were. We were all glued to our screens, weren't we? We watched, mouths open, as Alan, the man we thought we knew, transformed. He became a master of deception, a strategic genius, a man who could brutally murder his real-life best friend, Paloma Faith, and the legendary actress Celia Imrie, without so much as a flicker. He played the game with a ruthlessness and intelligence that was, quite frankly, breathtaking. He killed his way to victory, and in that moment, we saw a flash of something different, a steely resolve beneath the bubbly exterior. And then, in the most Alan move ever, he won that huge prize pot and gave it all away to charity. That, right there, is the perfect metaphor for Alan Carr. There's the dazzling, brilliant star we see on television, and then there's the deeply private, complex, and incredibly thoughtful man who keeps his real life hidden close to his chest. His star has never burned brighter, but to truly understand him, we have to look away from the showbiz spotlight and into the life he's fought so hard to protect. From Northampton call centers to TV royalty. It's hard to imagine Alan Carr as anything other than the superstar he is today, but his journey was a long and far from easy one. Born in Dorset but spending most of his childhood in Northampton, Alan grew up in a world that couldn't have been more different from the one he would eventually conquer. His father, Graham Carr, was a professional footballer and a well-known chief scout for teams like Newcastle United. You can just imagine that world, all muddy pitches, locker room banter, and intense, masculine energy. And then there was Alan. He was, as he said himself, a far cry from his father's footsteps. While his dad and his younger brother, Gary, were immersed in the world of football, Alan was drawn to the stage. Can you imagine the courage that must have taken? To grow up in a family defined by one thing and to know, deep in your heart, that your path is somewhere else entirely. He followed that feeling and went off to Middlesex University to get a degree in drama and theater studies. But even with a degree, success didn't happen overnight. This is the part of the story we often skip, but it's the most important and the most relatable. In his early 20s, Alan moved to Manchester, not for a big TV gig, but for a job answering phones. For 5 long years, Alan Carr worked in a call center. Think about that. 5 years of headsets of your call is important to us, of dealing with an endless stream of customer complaints, all while nurturing the fragile, flickering dream of being a comedian. He spent his days in that office and his nights on the gritty Manchester comedy circuit, honing his craft, dying on stage, and slowly but surely finding his voice alongside other up-and-comers like John Bishop and Jason Manford. That struggle is why his comedy feels so real. He's not just observing life, he's lived it. He's been the one on the other end of the phone. When Alan Carr, Shatty Man, finally launched in 2009, it wasn't just a hit, it was a coronation. It was the culmination of all those years of dreaming, and it ran for 16 glorious series, cementing him as the king of accessible, joyful, and wonderfully cheeky chat. A fairy tale romance, with a very Alan twist. While his career was taking off, Alan's private life was also blossoming. In 2006, he met Paul Drayton. They became a couple, and for 13 years, they were a fixture, a solid, loving partnership, navigating the wild world of fame together. In an industry where relationships can be fleeting, 13 years is a lifetime. They were each other's rock, and after a decade together, Paul decided to make it official during a romantic holiday in Indonesia. But this being Alan Carr, it was, of course, brilliantly chaotic. As Alan himself told The Sun, the proposal was anything but smooth. He was eating dessert when he suddenly felt something hard in his mouth. His first thought? Oh my God, a filling's come out, just my luck on holiday. Can't you just hear him saying it? He pulled the filling out of his mouth, and there it was, a ring. As he was trying to process what was happening, the man on the organ in the restaurant suddenly burst into song, belting out, "Can you feel the love tonight?" It was messy, it was hilarious, and it was absolutely perfect. In 2018, they tied the knot, and in a detail that makes the heart swell, the ceremony was conducted by Alan's best friend, the one and only Adele. She didn't just sing, she got ordained specifically to marry them in her own Los Angeles backyard. It was the ultimate testament to their love and the deep friendships surrounding them. It was, for all intents and purposes, a fairy tale. The sad, brave truth behind the split. But as we all know, fairy tales don't always last, and sometimes the most loving relationships are tested by battles that have nothing to do with love itself. After 3 years of marriage and 13 years as a couple, the public was stunned when, in 2022, a statement was released. After 13 years as a couple and 3 years of marriage, Alan Carr and Paul Drayton would like to announce they are separating. It was the standard, polite, showbiz statement. They jointly and amicably made the difficult decision and requested privacy. We've all read these a dozen times, but behind that carefully worded press release was a story of profound, gut-wrenching pain. This wasn't a simple case of falling out of love. The sad reason for the breakdown of their marriage was Paul's public and painful struggle with alcoholism. This is where the story turns from a celebrity gossip item into a deeply human tragedy. Addiction is a cruel, relentless disease. It's a third person in any relationship, one that steals joy, breaks trust, and slowly erodes the foundation of even the strongest love. Following their separation, Paul, in an act of incredible bravery and honesty, revealed he was checking into a rehabilitation facility. His post on Instagram was heartbreaking. "It is with great sadness that I share the news that Alan and I have jointly decided to end our marriage," he wrote. "This decision has been very difficult for us both, and we part ways with great memories and continued love and friendship for each other." And then, he laid his soul bare. "As part of my own journey, I proactively checked myself into a rehabilitation facility at the turn of the new year in order to get the help and support I need during this challenging time. These last couple of years have been challenging to say the least, but I remain deeply committed to my journey of sobriety and strength." Reading those words, you understand the impossible situation they both faced. The amicable split wasn't just a PR line, it was the truth. You can feel the love that still existed, but love, unfortunately, cannot always conquer addiction. It's a battle the person suffering has to fight for themselves. We see Alan Carr, the traitor, the chatty man, the comedian who always has a smile and a joke. But now, we also see Alan, the man who stood by his partner through an agonizing struggle, who protected their privacy with dignity, and who had to make the most devastating decision of his life: to love someone enough to let them go, so they could both find a path to healing. His star burns brighter than ever, and perhaps now we know why. It's because he's not just funny, he's strong. He's not just a star, he's a survivor, and that makes us love him even more.